Good afternoon, everyone. My name is McAfee. I'm a senior consultant at cybersecurity unit in Ingram Micro based in Dubai. Thank you very much for joining us today for this webinar, and I hope you will find it useful and informative to you. The main subject of this webinar, as communicated to you in the webinar invitation, is how to improve the threat detection and response in your organization using SIEM technology. While talking about the agenda, we will be covering many concepts in this webinar, and hopefully we will finish on time. We will start with a quick recap on the three main domains of cybersecurity and different categories of information security controls. We will then lay down some foundations on the importance of monitoring and detection controls for every organization. Next, then, I'll introduce the concept of SIEM, which is the main subject of this webinar, and talk a little bit on why organizations need SIEM solutions and briefly discuss SIEM architecture in general. Then I'll speak about some of the main reasons that leads to failed SIEM implementations in organizations. Also, I'll present you some of the leading SIEM providers in the market and key features of each of these providers. Finally, I will quickly provide you with information about the recent updates and activities happening at Ingram Micro Cybersecurity Unit. I always like to start with basic concepts and then gradually move into more advanced ones. For those of you who have attended any of our previous webinars, this slide will not be new for you. In this slide, we present actually Ingram Micro approach to deal with cybersecurity. We believe that every company should address cybersecurity matter through the people, process, and technology domains. Each of these domains has certain objectives to be achieved in order to improve the security posture of the company and reduce risks. The focus of this webinar is on the technology domain of the cybersecurity, and in particular, the detection and monitoring part of it. Well, let's speak a little bit about the different types of security controls that are usually deployed by any organization. Broadly speaking, information security controls are classified into three major categories: preventive, detective, and corrective. Preventive controls, as the name suggests, are implemented to prevent or reduce the probability of a security incident taking place in the organization. Examples of such controls are firewalls, for example, to allow only legitimate traffic, antiviruses at the endpoint, and user training and awareness. Detective control, on the other side, are deployed to detect attempts to compromise and breach the network security and probably bypass the preventive security controls established by the company. Examples of detective controls are intrusion detection systems, SIEM solutions, which is the main subject of this webinar, and we will be talking in details about it in the upcoming slides. Corrective security controls are those used after detecting and containing a security breach in order to recover operations to normal status. Such controls include restoring data from the last non-valid backup, for example, or patching a vulnerable system after an attack, or maybe isolating an infected machine after discovering it is compromised or it is infected with a virus or any malicious type of software. Generally speaking, the major focus of organizations are on preventive and detective controls, while there is very minimal focus on detective controls. And detective controls are usually really hard to implement because in addition to the security solutions and the technology, it really requires manual efforts by security team and analysts to achieve or to implement and deploy the detective controls. Now that we know less efforts are dedicated to detective controls in general in any organization, let's explore together the importance of detective controls. A study was conducted by Ponemon Institute in 2016 to estimate the cost and time for organizations to recover from security breach in the United States. The study found that it takes around 46 days to discover and resolve cybersecurity incident. 46 days is actually a long period, especially when we know that it takes only hours for hackers from attacks to compromise of the network. So the challenge any organization has is to detect and remediate threats as quickly as possible to minimize the effects and the impact of a compromise on the organization. As per Ponemon's study, cyber attacks can get costly if not resolved quickly. And the results of the study shows a positive relationship between the time to contain an attack and the cost on the organization. The study also shows that the average cost of an incident is around $1 million during the during the 46 days period. So the report also shows that having strong monitoring and detection capabilities is essential for every organization to reduce the time and cost of security incidents. So the message of this study is strong monitoring and detection capabilities are vital for any organization seeking to improve and have a proper cybersecurity posture. Now the question is, but how would strong detection controls help organizations reduce the cost of security incidents? Detection controls achieves this by answering three main questions every organization's security team should have an answer for. So the first question is, what is going on in their network? It is very important for a security team in any organization to have a complete visibility about all activities and events taking place inside the company's network. This includes network and security devices and endpoints, servers, web server, databases, and other components inside the network. Additionally, the security team needs to understand the importance and criticality of these activities and events. Having appropriate detection and monitoring technology in place to inform security team about how critical a particular event is very helpful, considering the massive amount of events taking place inside corporate networks these days. Finally, security teams need some sort of smart and fast and effective way to respond to those events and automate as much as possible of the detection and response to these incidents. Usually, the answer to all these questions is within the security data and security logs. However, you need the right technology and the right tools in place in order to answer all these questions. And this is where we believe SIEM is the solution for any organization seeking to improve their detection and monitoring controls and to reduce the time required to detect and recover from an incident. Okay, so what is SIEM actually? SIEM basically stands for Security Information and Event Management. SIEM has actually evolved over time from different technologies before it. Initially, the log management systems appeared in the market, and it stands for LMS for short. So LMS basically is a system that collects and stores log files from multiple hosts and systems into a single location. And this allows basically the logs to be centralized and to to be accessed centrally from a central place, actually, instead of accessing the logs from each system individually. Next, the security log and event management system appeared in the market. The SLM or SIEM is basically a log management system, but was marketed towards security analysts by highlighting log entries that are more significant from a security point of view than other normal logs. Next, the security information management system came into the picture, which is basically an asset management system, but included features that you can incorporate into other solutions. For example, hosts may have vulnerability reports listed in their summaries. Intrusion detection and antivirus alerts may be shown mapped to the systems involved, and some other information in this regard. Later on, the security event correlation, which is SEC for short, appeared in the market. Security event correlation system basically was designed to look for patterns in log files in a way to raise alerts when several logically connected events take place together in the network. Around 5 to 7 years back, the industry has kind of finally settled down on the term SIEM, which included all of the aforementioned functionality. Why would any organization buy a SIEM solution? We have already discussed the importance of detection and monitoring control, but let's break down in a simplified manner how SIEM solution can help organizations improve their security posture. Basically, endpoint, server, network devices, and security devices generates a huge amount of logs that's impossible to manually review, regardless of how many resources the organization hire, and hence there is the need for a tool to centrally store, aggregate, and correlate these logs to make it easier for security analysts to review and take actions based on it. Also, individual security solutions such as intrusion detection system, endpoint security, and other security solutions has a very limited view of what's really happening inside the network. So basically, intrusion detection only understands packets, protocols, and IP addresses. Endpoints understand usernames, files, and hosts. Surface logs, they understand login, service activity, configuration changes, etc. But none of them can provide actually a comprehensive view of what's really happening in the network. And this is where basically the SIEM comes into the play. So basically the SIEM is like another layer, like sit on top of all these security devices, in which all the logs and information gathered from these individual security solutions are forwarded and sent to the SIEM. And SIEM basically makes sense of it, correlates this information, and build the context around it. And we will discuss these concepts in details later on. And makes all this information accessible from a single place, from a single dashboard. Another way SIEM solution help organization in terms of security is threat management. So SIEM basically provide the ability to detect risky scenarios and common attacks, which can be customized and built around the business processes and the nature of business and industry the organization is really operating in. In terms of compliance and audit, SIEM makes it very easier for IT and security team to create reports about the configuration and about the compliance status of the different configuration and different security devices and solutions inside the network, and present those to the auditors. So instead of going to each and every system and generate the reports and then send it and share it with the auditors, you can do this from a single place. In terms of forensic, SIEM comes very handy. So in case of an incident, instead of going into individual security devices, for example, going into the endpoints and the network security devices and trying to gather logs and trying to gather files and acquire images and do investigation separately, SIEM can be very helpful in forensic investigation, because from one place you can gather and reconstruct information and packets and acquire images about each and every device involved in the incident. This slide basically kind of explains the previous one, but in a graphical way. So as you can see on the left side, you have a list of applications, servers, network devices, and users. All of these, they send and share their logs with the SIEM solution. And then SIEM solution, through the functionalities of analysis, raising alerts, correlation, building context, and search capability, and archival, provides on the right side the benefits to the organization and end users by, for example, providing real-time network monitoring, user activity monitoring, raising alerts in real time, and providing recommendations to security analysts, and maybe proposing some actions to take, generating reports for compliance with different security standards and regulations such as BCI, ISO, HIPAA, and FISMA, etc. And also some SIEM solutions provide capability monitoring. So if you have certain files, you want to monitor their capabilities, it's very, very possible to use a SIEM to monitor certain files. If there is any change happening to these files, then you can generate alerts informing or notifying the security team about those changes. Now let's talk briefly about general SIEM architecture. SIEM will receive the events data from various network and security devices, applications, and endpoints. SIEM will develop a contextual understanding of the network and system, such as current operating system, running surfaces, existing vulnerabilities, and also feed from external threat intelligence. So having the logs from the system devices and applications and operating system, plus building the context around these logs and these information and these devices, SIEM has like a very comprehensive visibility about what's really happening in the network. So based on this information, the SIEM solution normalizes the received data into standard format that's understood by the SIEM. As you might imagine, different systems generates different type of logs in different formats. So in order for the SIEM solution to understand them and to perform correlation and normalization and aggregation, he has to have all these logs in a standard format. So this enables SIEM to provide helpful analysis, generate useful reports, and also facilitate real-time monitoring of network and security events. So we've mentioned the correlation and context several times during the webinar. So I've briefly touched about the correlation function in the previous slide. So let me provide you with more details about this important SIEM functionality. So correlation is basically the process of matching events from systems, including hosts, network devices, security controls, anything that send logs to SIEM. So events from different sources can be combined and compared against each other to identify patterns of behavior that's usually invisible to individual devices, such as endpoint protection solution or network security solutions. So correlation rules can be matched against the information specific to your business or your organization to allow you to automate detection for the things that should not occur in your network. Now let's talk about understanding the context. Now that we have discussed how correlation works, let's talk a little bit about how SIEM build and gather information about the content of any event in your environment. So upon receiving an event, from one security or network device, let's say, as you can see on the screen, SIEM solution starts gathering additional information that's usually beyond that particular event. Such information like what else is happening on this time. So having the time of this event, SIEM tries to understand what's really happening at the same time at different parts of the network. Also, SIEM tries to understand what is the IP address involved in this event. Does it have any other names? What is the location? And who is the owner and the administrator of this machine? SIEM also tries to understand the type of service that has generated this log and what other messages this service produce in the rest of the network, and what other systems does have this service running. You can see the number 263, basically 263 is basically this is the message number generated by this service. So SIEM tries to understand what is this number, okay, if there's any kind of documentation for this message. So basically it's trying to understand, okay, what the service is trying to tell the security analyst by generating this kind of message. Also, you can see the user is root. So SIEM tries to understand who is this user and where is he coming from. What is his real name? Means like root is a system user actually, but who is basically the owner of this system user and what kind of privileges or what's his role in the system. And then the destination IP or the source IP in this case, the SIEM try to sort or to solve the DNS name to get the actual name of this IP address. As you might imagine, it's really hard to understand where is this IP address coming from which country, does it have a URL, etc. So SIEM try to gather all this information about the DNS name, any other names that's mapped to this IP, who is the owner, who is the organization, where is it located geographically across the world, who is the administrator, and if there's any other communication happening inside the network, whether from or to this IP address. And then again, the SIEM tries to understand this port, what is this port linked to which services, and if there's any other logs linked to this port. And again, another service, which is like mentioned in the log, SSH2, which is the version of the SSH service in this case. So the SIEM tries to understand again information about this service. So as you can see, from a single log event, SIEM tries to understand much more beyond this event, including dates, including host names, IP addresses, messages, like users, privileges, IP addresses, again, like external IP addresses in terms of their geographical locations and ownership and other information to build the context around what's really happening inside the network. Now let's talk about some background information, not really background information, some really important information that everyone should understand about SIEM solutions. So what SIEM does and what SIEM do not actually. So SIEM is not the solution for all security challenges. This has to be understood very well by every organization and by every security expert. So SIEM basically adds value by extending visibility across existing information security solutions and systems and other management tools. So what SIEM do, SIEM can help in centralizing the log management functionality by doing correlation, raising alerts, and generating reports for these events. SIEM can really help in compliance, as discussed previously, can really help in terms of incident response and the risk management process, because again, as a SIEM solution, having really visibility and comprehensive understanding of all the security devices and solutions deployed inside the network. SIEM also definitely increased the efficiency and effectiveness of security team. So instead of security analysts going to individual devices, checking their configuration, checking their logs, and be acquiring evidences, he can do everything from a central dashboard or from a central location, which is the SIEM. What SIEM do not actually do is SIEM do not eliminate the need for other security system. So you have the SIEM, you still need an endpoint security, you still need an intrusion prevention system, you still need other network security devices. SIEM, again, is classified as part of the detection and monitoring controls. There are some solutions which kind of employ the functionality of taking active response or taking actions based on the identified events, but still SIEM is basically, or majority of SIEMs are really classified in the detection and monitoring control category. SIEM does not directly prevent compromises. So instead, the SIEM will provide the security analyst with a comprehensive visibility across the network and what's really happening. And then it's up to the security analyst and security team to take the right actions based on the information gathered and the alerts raised by the SIEM. SIEM also do not eliminate the role of security administrators because you still need people and human resources to do some of the necessary manual efforts and manual jobs. What SIEM does basically is maximize the value of having these expertise. So instead of wasting their precious time on doing everything manually, much of the steps and activities can be automated using the SIEM solution. Now let's talk about why SIEM solutions implementation fails. So there are many reasons actually. So the first thing is that is often discovered when SIEM is implemented is how complex network operations actually are and how many overlapping systems and conflicts are involved. This typically creates alerts that are either abandoned or the output is really ignored. It's best to look as it is best to look at SIEM as a tool for continual process improvement, not a final destination, but rather a reasonable starting point that will need to evolve with an organization's security needs over time. The other reason is like log management. In order to truly automate the collection of data from different devices and automate the parsing or normalization of all that data, organization needs to have a standard way of generating log events. Otherwise, it will be very hard for SIEM solution to process and understand these logs. Organizations simply assume that SIEM will work easily and automatically right out of the box. They overlook or maybe underestimate the technical complexities involved in deploying and configuring SIEM solutions to get the perceived benefit of it. For SIEM solutions to work effectively, the entire organization needs to work together to address the challenge of the SIEM. This will include application development, patch management, and change control, access control, server and authentication team, security infrastructure, and the rest of the team. Another reason for failing is not committing sufficient time and resources for system maintenance. Often, whenever you apply change or you upgrade a system, you need to retune and reconfigure the SIEM because in many cases, this upgraded system starts generating logs that's not really understood by the SIEM solution, or maybe for some reason stops communicating with the SIEM solution. So it's really important that whenever you update or you apply major changes to network or security devices or systems or operating system is to confirm and check the connectivity with SIEM and to communicate those changes before time and ahead of time to the security team who is really engaged in working on the SIEM. Now that we have talked about SIEM solution in general, and we kind of laid down the basics for the SIEM solution, the architecture, the correlation function, the context understanding functionality, and why SIEM solutions fail and what SIEM solutions do and don't. Let's talk about some of the leading SIEM technologies in the market. So I'm going to be talking briefly about some of the key features of 4 main SIEM solutions in the market. As you can see on the slides, we have IBM Security QRadar, ArcSight from Micro Focus, previously known as HPE. We have Alien Vault, and we have McAfee as well. Starting with McAfee, McAfee SIEM delivers a unified framework for hundreds of products to deliver a great value of real-time visibility into an organization's security posture. So in addition to collecting valuable data from various devices in the network, it also offers active integration with McAfee e-policy orchestrator for the endpoints, which is for policy-based endpoints management, McAfee Network Security Manager for intrusion prevention, and McAfee Active Response. McAfee also integrate with McAfee Threat Intelligence Exchange and McAfee Advanced Threat Defense for threat hunting and remediation. So with such integration, McAfee SIEM solution can automate many of the first response actions, which will really help organizations respond to attacks more quickly and efficiently. Another great feature of McAfee SIEM is it is highly scalable architecture, including both physical and virtual appliances that can be deployed in a single appliance or for additional scale distributed across the enterprise. So in addition, McAfee Event Receiver performs initial correlation to ensure data integrity and optimal processing power. Enterprise Security Manager, application data monitoring, and database event monitoring provides the ability to gain application and database context without any impact on the performance of the network. So application data monitoring decodes all the way up to layer 7 of the OSI model, which quickly helps in identifying unknown application processes or any suspicious data transfer, while the data event monitoring records database sessions, detecting rogue databases, and provides strong audit for databases. These systems actually work seamlessly with McAfee Enterprise Security Manager and Enterprise Log Manager to offer tightly integrated log management functionality. On top of this, McAfee delivers a single-click access to raw logs, which is really helpful in terms of investigation. Let's move next to IBM Security. IBM, similar to McAfee SIEM, IBM QRadar is very scalable, and the SIEM functionality can be easily expanded by integrating QRadar with other specialized IBM products, such as, for example, the QFlow solution for network and application visibility. QFlow supports both physical and virtual environment and enable QRadar with the ability to monitor up to layer 7 of the OSI model. Another solution that can be integrated with the QRadar SIEM is the Risk Manager, which is another product that perfectly integrates with QRadar to help build contextual information around the information assets, threats, and attack in the organization. Risk Manager basically provides the functionality of configuration monitoring, vulnerability scanning, and threat modeling as well. Another important solution which can be integrated by QRadar SIEM is the QRadar Incident Forensic, which is basically very helpful in accelerating the efforts for incident investigation and analysis. And the way it does this is by providing the ability to reconstruct network sessions from original network becaps and presenting the results for the investigators in a nice visual dashboard that are usually easy to understand and to make decisions out of it. Another interesting feature of IBM QRadar is the user behavior analytics. Recent reports indicate that around 40% of breaches caused by incident threats or by insider threats, actually, including account takeover, privilege escalation, disgruntled employees, and other insider threats. Therefore, detecting insider threats requires a strong focus on behavior analysis of the users. And in most cases, the evidence of malicious activity is found in a series of changes in what would be considered normal behavior for a user and their intermediate or their immediate peer group. QRadar user behavior analysis can help detect insider threat in a quick and easy way. And it has built-in machine learning behavior baselining. So it will understand what's the baseline behavior of a normal user. And based on this, will decide if there is any variation to this baseline. In addition to this, user behavior analytics take advantage of the threat intelligence that are automatically leveraged to detect insiders. Let's talk about Alien Vault right now. So Alien Vault was founded in 2007 with a mission to simplify how organizations detect and mitigate threats using a unified platform, and hence the name of their product, which is Unified Security Management, USM for short. USM provides a comprehensive approach to security monitoring that's perfect and affordable fit for all organizations, enabling them to save time, money, and resources. USM basically provides 5 security essentials. The first one is asset discovery, which includes passive and active network scanning, asset inventory, host-based software inventory. The second functionality is the vulnerability assessment, which is basically a continuous vulnerability assessment as well as an authenticated scanning, where you can scan the information assets in your organizations for vulnerabilities using credentials. Intrusion detection, there are 2 types. There is network and host-based intrusion detection and file integrity monitoring, all are provided with the USM. Behavioral monitoring, this is done through log collection, analysis of net flow information, and monitoring of service availabilities across the network. And last is the SIEM log management functionality, which is basically the event correlations, the understanding of the context, and also the functionality of incident response. So Alien Vault provides all these 5 functionalities in one appliance or in one solution. So Alien Vault has 3 main deployment scenarios, which is public cloud, hybrid cloud, and physical IT infrastructure. So in public cloud, basically, if you have all your services in the cloud and you want to have SIEM solution to monitor these services, you can have Alien Vault deployed for public cloud. And It works very well with Azure and Amazon Web Services. The hybrid cloud deployment scenario is in case you have some private cloud, or maybe if you have like kind of part of your services on the cloud and part of it on premise, so you can have the hybrid cloud solution. Physical IT infrastructure, as the name suggests, if you have all your IT infrastructure and network devices and endpoints, everything on premise. So Alien Vault can help you by providing the on-premise virtual and physical hardware to monitor and perform like asset discovery, vulnerability assessment, intrusion detection system, and behavior analysis of your network. Next, we move to Micro Focus ArcSight. Some of the nice features of ArcSight also user behavior analytics, UBA. So ArcSight combines and enrich the collection and correlation of SIEM logs with user and roles data from identity and access management and other directory technologies such as Active Directory. So it enriches log events with user information to get a complete picture of user activity, including monitoring high-risk privileged and shared accounts. Here we can see an example of where a single user or identity has a number of accounts across different devices and systems and applications. Note how some of the identifiers are not easily reconcilable with the standard naming conventions, such as the badge ID of 348924323 and phone number of 510-555-1212. So ArcSight user behavior analytics ties all of these accounts and activities to a single user identity, which is like Robert Jackson as presented on the slide. This is like really helpful for security analysts, because seeing different entries, different accounts for different log entries, it will be very hard to correlate these accounts and this information. But ArcSight user behavior analytics helps by tying all of these accounts and activities into a single identity. Another cool feature of ArcSight is the DNS malware analytics, or DMA for short. This is basically a security analytics solution that detects malware-infected hosts and endpoints or servers, desktop or mobile devices rapidly and with a high rate of fidelity. So DMA analyzes DNS traffics to identify bad traffic among hosts and IP addresses in real time to detect breaches before damage really occurs to the organization. Among the many things that DMA can detect is the blacklist matching. For example, when a client is infected with a malware that uses blacklisted command and control domains, DMA will detect that. Also, botnets and command and control servers can be detected, whether the traffic is coming from a client or from a domain. So it's really cool picture, or cool feature actually. So this is what I have for the SIEM and the leading SIEM technologies that we actually distribute. Let's talk a little bit about some of the recent updates from Ingram Micro Cybersecurity Unit. So our website is up and running and live, and you can access it through security.ingrammicro.com. You will find plenty of information about our services, our consultancy and technical services, our training, and our vendors. And you will be able to contact our security team for any queries or for any information you would like to have. Partner enablement sessions. We continuously engage with partners across the META region, and we enable them about the how to approach cybersecurity and what kind of services and offers to discuss with their end clients. And we are more than happy to conduct enablement session whenever you feel like. Please just get in touch with us. We will arrange for like 2 hours enablement session to go through in details our service and our cybersecurity portfolio, including services training and vendors. One of the interesting free of charge services that we offer is public discovery report, and this is basically where we gather information about your clients free of charge. So the information we gather about it includes like the running services, any existing vulnerabilities, any compromised email addresses, any sensitive documentation that are available in public about the organization. And it's free of charge, it's non-intrusive, and we usually generate the report in 2 to 3 hours. Sorry, in 2 to 3 days. As part of our efforts to promote the cybersecurity across the region, so we are offering a foundational free of charge training for cybersecurity for your employees. So if you are interested, please get in touch with us and we will arrange for the same. A very important event happening in November next month on 19th, 20th, and 21st. This is the Cyber and the Cloud and Cybersecurity Summit. This is an event organized by Ingram Micro. It will include security, around 25 security vendors and around 500 business partners. They will all be gathering in Abu Dhabi on November 19th, 20, and 21. And there will be like very interesting topics, very interesting keynotes and breakout sessions. So I would really advise you and to register and to register your seat for this important event. The usual price for this event is $150. So you can get a discounted price since you joined this webinar. So you can book at a $50 using the discount code that you can see in front of you on the screen, which is DIS 150-CSS. So instead of paying $150 for 3 nights, you can pay $50 instead. Last but not least is our participation in GITEX. So we are very pleased to announce that we're going to have our booth in GITEX, in which many of our security and non-security vendors will be present with us. So please come and visit us and explore the different products that we distribute and have the chance to discuss your requirements with our vendors. This is our vendor portfolio. So some of the news in this regards, we have recently signed an agreement, a distribution agreement with Sonic Wall for Egypt and Saudi. We have also signed a distribution agreement for Quest. Quest is the famous data protection and backup solution. So we are now the official distributor for Quest in GCC, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Levant, and North Africa. And as you all know, we are always in talks with multiple vendors in order to add them to our cybersecurity portfolio and expand the products that we distribute and we offer to our business partners. This is what I have for this webinar. I hope you have enjoyed the topics discussed, and I hope it was like really informative and useful for you. Thank you very much for joining us for this webinar. And if you have any question, please raise your questions in the question tab, and we will be answering them in the right time. Thank you very much.